Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Love If You're Mental. My name is Ariel, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor. Today, I wanted to talk about how mental health doesn't discriminate. And I think that this is important, especially with the way that people treat celebrities or people who have more money, which usually equals more resources in regards to mental health and how they may be impacted by things. So I have a quote here from Demi Lovato. It says, "I wish people could understand that the brain is the most important organ of our body. Just because you can't see mental illness like you would see a broken bone doesn't mean it's not as detrimental or devastating to a family or an individual." And I'm not sure if many people know, but Demi Lovato went through her own mental health struggles. She spoke a lot about having bipolar disorder and substance use issues and eating disorders, anxiety, just being able to talk about mental health and how that has impacted her and her career and just being in the limelight and what that does, right? And I wanted to bring this up because one of the things that I want people to remember is that mental health could affect anybody, anywhere, at any time. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you might have a diagnosis, like you might have depression, you might have anxiety, you might have bipolar, things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that is something that you might be diagnosed with. It just means that something can suddenly happen in your life and you could just be affected by mental health, or you could have a mental health diagnosis and not know because your family wasn't aware or they didn't address things because of their own background. So they never spoke to you about it. And so you're going through life and you are having these symptoms, or, a lot of things are being affected in your life and you're trying to figure out why. Like, I don't understand any of the stuff that's going on. But in reality, this type of mental health issue, illness, whatever, has been going on in your family. It's just nobody spoke about it. Especially now with the way that everything is, people are a little bit more open to talk about their mental health. They are aware of what is going on and getting more educated. And so they are being a little bit more honest compared to in the past, where mental health was not really talked about. If you did talk about mental health, you were considered crazy, or you had to go see a psychiatrist to get on medication, and people going into the mental health places with padded walls and things like that. And that's not the instance now. There are many celebrities, public figures that struggle with mental health issues, and they will be open and honest about it. And like I said previously, before you weren't able to do that, a lot of people were going to lose jobs because they had mental health issues. The big thing is just remembering that it doesn't matter what your status is. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you live, what you do, where you come from. You might be hit with a struggle and it might impact your mental health. And you could be diagnosed with something. It could be temporary, like somebody passing away, and you're dealing with that grief. Grief is part of mental health. You could be depressed, you could be angst, you could have anxiety, you could have stress from grief. So I want us to remember that mental health struggles don't discriminate, and acknowledging that can help us better understand and support each other. Just because a celebrity has money, yes, they might be able to have more resources to get the help, to pay for the medication and go to rehab or whatever the case may be, but that doesn't mean that is not affecting their kids. It's not affecting their relationships. It's not affecting their career. I mean, we've seen it before. We saw when Britney Spears was going through her whole thing, and we didn't even understand what that was at the time, especially for me as a kid, seeing that. And now as you get older, understanding all the pressure she was under, what was happening with her family and everything else, it kind of gives you a bit more perspective of, oh, okay, these mental health struggles could happen to anyone. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you do or the life that you live. Everybody can be affected by it. And there was also the whole thing with Summer Walker, who expressed that she has social anxiety, and she's a singer. She has to perform. So when she was on stage, people were a bit confused as to why is she just standing there? Why is she just sitting down? Why is she doing this? Because having to face that social anxiety all the time is a lot for her. It doesn't matter how much money she has. She's still a human being, and she has emotions and she has struggles that she has to go through. But I think for some people, because their lack of access, or because they don't understand, or they don't want to understand that these celebrities or these public figures have money, that they're kind of like, they have mental health. Well, it doesn't make any sense. Money, can solve everything. Why do you have depression if you have money and you're a celebrity? You could just fly somewhere and be able to deal with it. It doesn't work like that. We have seen celebrities like Meg Thee Stallion, where I did my other video of going through her documentary of losing both set of parents, losing the most pillar part of people that are in your family, and then having people around you don't even know who you can trust, if you can be supportive. Like, that takes a toll on you, especially if you're young. So I think sometimes people take for granted the amount of support that they have and how that can benefit their mental health. And for the other people who, they might have a lot of money, but do they have the right people around them? Do they know how to access the help? Do they know what to do with their mental health when they're going through that? It doesn't matter where they're at. People are still going to have mental health issues and have to deal with their emotions. So I think we need to get to the point of breaking that stigma around mental health and letting people be open and honest and not have to isolate themselves because they're going through mental health issues. Have celebrities be okay with coming out and letting us know that they have mental health issues, so that other people who might possibly look up to them or respect them or whatever, like, oh, so-and-so has mental health issues, I also have that, or my cousin has that, so that makes a little bit more sense to me, or that might make me want to go and get help myself. So I think you're come to a point where, yes, we are upset that people who have more money and more access can go and get these things and we can't. But it doesn't mean that we have to be mean or be upset because this person has the means. They're still a human being. They're still going through things. They still have family. They still have kids. Like, just because they have the money and they have the access to go places doesn't mean it doesn't affect them in the same way that it might affect us, or it might be worse. Again, celebrities and public figures are out in the public. So not only do they have to deal with their own internal dialogue, they have to deal with their family and friends dialogue, and then they also have to deal with people like us and people who are who are doing their jobs as people who talk about them and things like that. That is a lot of layers to deal with things. The I don't want to say the good thing about it is, but the good thing about it for us is that we can deal with our own mental health struggles within ourselves and with our families and friends. When you have another layer and you're under a microscope with the whole world looking at you, that creates another layer of mental health where it's like, well, I just want to keep to myself. I don't want to deal with anything because nobody wants to hear it. And that can be a struggle within itself. So I just want people to get a better understanding of what mental health is, and how even those who may appear to have it all together may still struggle internally. Somebody could walk outside and be the happiest person ever, and you're like, oh, they have a great life and this and that. But then, a couple years later down the road, you hear all these stories about all the stuff that they've been through. You're like, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, because a lot of people are able to mask their pain. They're able to just act like nothing is going on, and then they go home and they break down. So we need to be a little bit more sensitive when it comes to these things. I'm not saying that you have to be going all out and defending and doing all these things for people, but we need to be a little bit more aware that it doesn't matter what somebody has or where they come from. They might still deal with their own mental health issues. So I really want to just stress the importance of talking about mental health openly. Normalize the conversations. There's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with getting upset. These are normal human emotions, but you have to learn how to manage them and understand that it doesn't matter where someone comes from. They could be the richest person and still have mental health issues, right? Talking to someone can be the first step towards healing. And even if you're a celebrity or public figure, you can find a therapist to talk to. Even if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot and doesn't have the means, there's usually resources that will help you to be able to get the help. Usually community resources. It might not be ideal to what you want, but the help is there. So just remember, nobody is exempt from mental health issues. We all have our battles, but we don't face them alone. Everybody struggles with something at some point. Some people it's long term, some people it's not, it's temporary. But just remember that Like Demi Lovato said, your brain is the most important organ in your body. It goes through a lot of functions and it holds on to a lot of things. And we tell our bodies when something is wrong. Even if you don't verbalize it, your body still knows that there is something wrong, because internally you're feeling all of it, but you're trying to mask all of that by trying to show up and look good and do this and that. Your body's still feeling it. So don't continue to push yourself and act like as if everything is fine, nothing is wrong, when you're clearly going through mental health struggles and you need the help. It's okay to get the help, whether you are somebody who is high profile, whether you're just someone who works a regular 9-to-5 job. Get more comfortable with talking about mental health. Open up the conversation and just be a little bit more aware of how maybe even talking about your mental health struggles can appear to the next person and get them comfortable and get them open with getting help, because it's okay to get the help. You just don't want to keep using your mental health as an excuse, and you want to be able to show up as the best version of yourself, and you can do that by using the resources around you. So please remember that mental health doesn't discriminate. We can all help each other. It's kind of hard, I think, for celebrities though, because people feed off of the negativity and they want that drama. They don't want to focus on themselves and what they got going on. But really, we have to understand that the more that you address it, the more that you're able to deal with those emotions, and the more that it's better for you as far as moving forward in your future. Because just because you deal with something now and you get over it doesn't mean that you might not be hit with something else later on. You know, mental health can affect you at any point in your life. So make sure that you address these things and that you're able to be aware about how your mental health can affect others. And then just be aware of, you might not know what someone is going through. At least be kind. We've seen this multiple times of celebrities going through things and people saying mean things, and then once we realize that something's wrong, they want to backpedal. Same thing like what happened with Chadwick Boseman and how he was going through all that stuff and sick and nobody knew, and everybody just, oh my god, he's so skinny, I don't understand, blah blah, just to come out and find out that he was sick the whole time, and now everybody wants to backpedal. Like, please be aware. We all know that we're human and we tend to judge, and sometimes we might not say things, but if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. And I think in this world now, especially with the way that social media plays a big part and how people are getting paid from social media, we also have to understand that people might be trolling other people, and people are doing things to be mean to get the engagement so that they can get paid. And you know, I don't want to fault anybody for that, because the world is expensive. You gotta do what you gotta do. But please understand that mental health is not easy. A lot of people go through a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot to deal with, and I feel like now we do have the choice to step away from social media as needed. You don't have to engage if you don't want to, and I think that that's important, because that can take a toll on you. So please join in on the conversation in the comments. Let me know if there's any other topics you guys would like me to talk about, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.